Good afternoon and welcome to the October meeting of the Murfreesboro Historic Zoning Commission. I call this meeting to order. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Howard Wilson.
Here.
Mary Mae White.
Here.
Jim Thompson.
Here.
Paul Cross. Rick Cantrell. Deborah Belcher.
Here.
David Becker.
Here.
Gib Backlund.
Here.
Linda Anderson.
We do have a quorum. Thank you, Brenda. You all should have received the minutes of the last meeting, the September meeting. Are there any corrections or additions? If there are none, the chair would welcome a motion to accept.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote then. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as prepared, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The minutes then are accepted as they are. Thank you, Brenda. Robert, could you please go over our first bit of business?
Sure. Excuse me. Before we get started, I'd like to pass along a public service announcement. There's going to be a notice of a public meeting that will be conducted on Tuesday, November the 17th, from 4 to 6:30 at the Homer Pittard Campus School at 823 East Lytle Street here in Murfreesboro. And the purpose of the meeting is to discuss project number 75LPLMFO-014, which is the Middle Tennessee Boulevard improvements along Middle Tennessee Boulevard, right on the west side of MTSU, from East Main Street to Greenland. The project proposes to improve safety and enhances aesthetics along Middle Tennessee Boulevard corridor. The project will be approximately 0.78 miles long and will assume the existing alignment of Middle Tennessee Boulevard. It's going to propose to widen and reconstruct Middle Tennessee Boulevard to include 4 10-foot traffic lanes, a 17-foot raised landscape median with cut-in 10-foot turning lanes, 4-foot dedicated bicycle lanes, and 4 to 5-foot sidewalks on each side to address separation of bicyclists, vehicles, and pedestrians. All the widening will be on the east side of the road, on the university side of the project. There'll be crosswalks that will be upgraded on East Main Street, Bell Street, Falconberry Drive, and Greenland Drive. And new signalized pedestrian crosswalks are proposed at Lytle Street, Division Street, and Murphy Center. This meeting will be informal and allow attendees to view the project plans, ask questions, and make comments regarding the project. Representatives from the City of Murfreesboro, Middle Tennessee State University, the Weiser Company, Reagan Smith Associates, which are the consultants for the project, will be available to answer any project-related questions. I just wanted to pass that along. Like I say, it was run in the paper on this October 11th of this year. I just want to let this word out so people in the audience may want to attend.
Robert, could you repeat the time?
And the date?
Okay. It's Tuesday, November the 17th, from 4 o'clock to 6:30. It's going to be at the Homer Pittard Campus School.
Thank you.
Okay. Our agenda today, first business on our new business is 915 East Main Street. The applicant is Rick Swafford. He's requesting to demolish the existing garage storage building and construct a new garage storage building on his property right behind his current address, his current residence. The house is located on the north side of East Main Street between Bilbro Avenue and Cherry Lane, about midway. The house was built in 1926 in the neoclassical style of architecture with an arched doorway, rounded porch with surmounting balustrade, and a portico. It is a two-story structure. It is a contributing structure in the East Main Street Historic District of the National Register of Historic Places. The time period of the detached garage is unknown, and according to the application, the condition is in poor condition, which is the reason for the proposed demolition and replacement with the new garage. Mr. Swafford wants to remove the existing garage and replace it with a two-story building. And I included in your documentation, in your agenda items, the guidelines which state that it would be, when talking about demolition of a project or a property in the historic zone, that it would be inappropriate to demolish a structure if its removal will be detrimental to the public interest or to the building, or if the building is such that it is old, unusual, or uncommon design of materials that it could not be reproduced or reproduced without great difficulty and expense, or its proposed replacement would be a less positive visual contribution to the district, that it would disrupt the character or be visually incompatible. The guidelines also state that demolition would be appropriate if the building has lost its architectural design, historical integrity, and importance, and its removal wouldn't result in a less appropriate visual effect on the district. Demolition is also appropriate if the building does not contribute to the historical or architectural character and importance of the district. So the commission, the purpose of this meeting is to decide if the building can be demolished, and if appropriate, does the new building meet the guidelines and standards for the new construction of an accessory structure. The applicant, like I say, the applicant is proposing a two-story detached garage as a new accessory structure on his property. The new garage will have a height of approximately 28 feet and be located 5 feet from the side lot lines, which is conforming to the zoning of the district of the city regulations. The existing principal structure is almost 6,000 square feet. It's 5,948 square feet, according to the assessor's office. And the main house also has a height of 35 feet. The attached photographs in your agenda package depict the house, and I attempted to provide a photograph of the house with the garage in the same side in the view. The building will be constructed, the new garage will be constructed in the same material as the main house. It'll be a brick veneer. It'll be set, it'll be used on, the brick veneer will be used on the garage, and the window style will be the same as the main house. Mr. Michael Pickelsheimer is the architect, and the applicant is Mr. Rick Swafford. They'll be able to answer any questions, or staff will be able to answer your questions if you have any.
Would anyone from the audience like to then come forward, and if you would, go to the podium and state your name for this particular project? Anybody in favor of this who would like to come before the board?
I'm Mike Pickelsheimer, the architect. If anybody has any questions, be glad to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Pickelsheimer, we note that the existing house is 35 feet and this one is 28 feet. What is the ceiling height of the second floor?
It's 9 feet.
Is there any consideration to reduce the overall height by maybe making it a story and a half with a lower knee wall, or reducing the ceiling height to 9 feet? Would that affect the owner's needs for that particular building?
A story and a half would. We would lose of course, the knee walls would bring in the floor plan considerably. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have the space to do what we want to do.
Yeah. I noticed, too, that the balustrade at the pedestrian entrance there has a heavy turn baluster on it, whereas the front porch of the main house appears to have a more slender baluster. Will you be matching the one on the front of the house?
Correct.
So it'll be a thinner, more closely spaced baluster. And I see that the owner's desiring to go to great extent to match the cornice with the modillions and
correct
dental molding or what have you there.
The only difference on that, the existing house has about a 2-foot overhang. Mm-hmm. We are proposing going to an 18-inch just because of the slight scale difference, just to keep it proportional.
Mm-hmm. The columns also shown for that main entrance appear to be a smooth column with a Ionic, I had to think about which
Correct.
ones they are. Ionic Capital for them. Are you going to match that as well?
Correct.
Okay. And what are the heights of the neighbors around it? That there's the church to the
The church is
west.
2 stories to the west. The house to the east is also 2 stories. And then back east and north is another 2-story house. The far back north, I'm not quite sure, but they're off the property more.
Although we're not really charged with, I'd like to get this into the discussions of projects, I think, is sustainability issues. It's something we all hear about. Are there any sustainability features of this design that might benefit the owner as well as reducing energy cost? And
Nothing extraordinary. We are doing some extra insulation. Of course, we are using modern insulated windows and doors. We will be insulating the floor between the garage and the office space upstairs and doing a full insulation on the attic. We are talking about taking what brick is on the garage for some paving in the yard area for sidewalks. There's not enough brick to re-brick the new building with. And when we did addition to the back of the house several years ago, we found a brick that is a close match but not exact. And we'll be using pretty much the same thing.
so the brick will match the house as close as you can get.
Yes.
We all know that's somewhat impossible sometimes, but the mortar color,
Exactly.
will the shingles match?
Yes. The shingle, as you notice, is the lower half is louvered, the upper half has a fleur-de-lis cutout. We intend to do
For the shutters, but the roof
shut-
shingle itself?
Shingle's the same.
Okay.
And you mentioned that the knee wall wouldn't meet the needs, but lowering the ceiling height from 9 to 8, would that be a problem, or
That would be something I'd have to ask the owner.
that would reduce the overall height of the structure, which I think is what Jim's concern was?
Well, it would also reduce the height of the windows. The rear cornice might impact the ridge. I can't tell from your elevations. One, it appears it might, another one, it appears it may not, but that rear portion of it may need to come down a bit. But just trying to always maintain a stair-step design that typically the main house is the higher and the addition is usually somewhat subservient to that. But
Right.
I wondered if dropping it that 1 foot would make a difference to the owner.
Pretty much in keeping with the rest of the house. The rest of the house has tall ceilings, and then to go to an 8-foot ceiling, I think would make it feel a little bit squat in the stairs, the spaces upstairs. We are trying to use some bookshelving in the offices, and so that extra foot for bookshelving would be nice to maintain that.
The garage is an apartment?
Not an apartment. It's a couple of just kind of home offices. One of the rooms is a sewing room for Mrs. Swafford to do her sewing, and set up so that, unlike the house where she tries to keep everything it's immaculate, is to have a space where she can do her hobbies and kind of leave it alone when she's done.
Nice feature. Will the roof slopes match the existing
Yes.
house?
And the window materials?
We are doing a wood-clad window, white clad, that will match the white painted wood on the existing house.
Clad with metal or vinyl?
Yes, with metal.
Will
But
it-
as far as the mutton design and all that, it's to match the existing.
And so the mutton will be expressed on the outside
On
of
the
the glass?
outside. It won't be true divided, but it will be on the outside.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the demolition of the existing structure and accept the structure as put before us.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I guess I should ask if there's anybody who's opposed to this addition before I go any further. I'm sorry. Is there anybody representing who's opposed to this? Neighbors or anything? Okay, thank you. We do have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion to accept the new design, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes then. Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Appreciate it. Robert, is there any further business?
Under staff reports and other business, included in your agenda package, I submitted a letter that City Manager Rob Lyons sent to me. This is regarding our last meeting. He got some figures for our city engineer, and he was discussing the costs associated with performing work in the historic zone for the projects that have already been started, and remedial work that's going to take place within the historic zone in the future. And you got that letter. I also want to add that city engineer was talking to me yesterday and said that he's going to be, they think they're going to be able to submit something at the meeting next month. They're going to do some work on Manny Avenue, which will probably come down into the historic zone a little bit with some infrastructure, some streetscape stuff that we're wanting to do on Manny Avenue according to the Manny Avenue plan. So you be just want a heads up that you'll be seeing something coming up shortly.
Is this on north or south, Manny?
I think it's on north side, but I wouldn't swear to it. I haven't seen anything yet. He would just tell me. I don't really know if it's north or south.
To the board, I think in our last, and first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Ives, Mr. Lyon for the letter. It was very nice of him to prepare that for us, and I think it was very beneficial. In our last meeting, I believe one of the board members, we discussed the idea of possibly editing the city ordinances or zoning, what have you, to give the Historic Zoning Commission board more a legal opportunity to review the work within the right-of-way by the city. And does anybody on the board today, do they have any comments or potential edits that they may wish to see or discuss? It was also suggested, in light of that perhaps we might consider getting Mr. Ives or Ms. McGannon to help write some potential changes for this commission, and we discussed the possibility of having a meeting off-camera, though, open to the public, a called meeting. And I wonder if there's any discussion by the board if you would like to still pursue that.
Yes, I think we should pursue it.
So any further discussion on that from the board? I think it would be really a very good idea. Mr. Ives, if you could speak to Ms. McGannon or you, Robert, we could suggest changes all day long, but none of us are lawyers. And I would personally welcome seeing some drafted language that we could review around the table in your department, Robert, that we might go over that would give us the right to review any modifications, changes in materials, design changes to the city's property within the right-of-way so that it does come before the board. We understand the city manager's willingness to work with us, but it would be nice to also have the legal right to review and approve that. And so I would welcome getting some drafted language that we might review in this meeting and discuss in detail and see if there's a way in which we can get that language forwarded on to the mayor and to the council.
Jim, if I might, would it be worth it to go ahead and set a work session, like what we're talking about, off-camera work, but open to the public, a work session where we could set it right now, sometime between our next meeting, perhaps, and then maybe invite the city attorney to that meeting so that we could sort of forge see where the common ground is. Because if we're going to try to make these changes, we sort of need to know what the city's will is to, do they even want to see this take place? So it'd be nice before we get too far along to see what their position is. So it might be a good opportunity to do that. And then look into what changes. I think we saw last time we changed one word. It has a lot of repercussions on many different areas, and so that's where Ms. McGannon or Mr. Ives would I'm sure benefit us.
Any further discussion? Any additional comments?
Do you want me to try to arrange a work session? Do you have a date in mind? And if we can, now that I can advertise it, we'll have to advertise it.
I think you have to advertise, 3 days prior, minimally? We could do it next Tuesday, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever's the pleasure of the board.
If we could do it 2 weeks from now, it'd be better for me. And if we could also, it seems like at one of those meetings, it's like an echo in here, it seems like, weren't we provided with, I know Ms. McGannon provided us with some of the relevant city ordinances, but it'd be nice to have, I guess, the whole thing so we can look at it ahead of time and sort of come up with some of our own ideas about how we'd like to see it modified if we decide to do that.
If you could, Robert, then
Okay.
prepare a package and send it out to everyone on all the pertinent rules that we have discussed with Ms. McGannon here previously, and the rules and procedures and all that for the historic zoning, I think
Okay.
that would be good. And then, like you say, we could go and review it beforehand, then have a working session that's open to the public, and then from that meeting, we could charge Ms. McGannon or Mr. Ives toward drafting some language.
Try to arrange it for room 218. Do you have a date in mind? November would be the 3rd? I think that's 2 weeks from today.
November 3rd?
Is that
That's a Tuesday?
a Tuesday?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Election day.
I think that
I'll,
works for the board, Robert.
I'll see if I can get that done, and I'll let you all know, and then we'll run it in the paper, advertise it properly.
I'm assuming the same time for the board, 3:30?
Yes.
Is Election Day a problem for anyone?
Is there an election this off year?
Just nationally.
Oh,
I don't think anybody's running. Any further discussion regarding this issue?
no.
If not, the chair would welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Then the motion carries. We adjourn. Thank you.